Hello and welcome to What's Happening, a show where we discuss EV news around the world with Onkar and Manish. So, Manish, how's it going?
Very good. This is season 2, episode 3.
Yeah. It's a lazy Friday morning, just getting ready for the festive season. You can almost see the laziness in the city.
It's definitely there. There's definitely a cloudy haze from the pollution, but there's definitely that festive kind of ramp up happening.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with the first news of the episode. In the past 1 month, a lot of things have happened, both from an Indian context as well as globally. Famously, I think Elon has been very busy, both with Tesla and with SpaceX. What they did, like just from a week's difference, was completely crazy, and I think it took build a lot of trust for Elon. I mean, he's going through a lot of things, I guess, right now. But let's stick to the Tesla event. The event was We Robot, and they unveiled the robotaxi, the robo van, and the Tesla bot. Very interesting stuff, possibly showing us what the future is going to entail. I love the parallels with the movie iRobot.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's break it down. Let's start with the robotaxi then.
Yeah, so robotaxi. So, of course, as usual, we have to talk about Tesla in this our series because there's always so much stuff happening. But if you remember, this actually was supposed to come out on August 8th. So the initial invite was for 8/8. Then I think things got delayed, and then the invite was now for 10/10, and that's what they launched several days ago. So three things was like you said, the robotaxi, robovan, and the Tesla bot. But the first thing we want to talk about is they call it the robotaxi, but I think everyone's calling it the cyber cab is really what it is. But it looked very cool. It was on the studio set in LA. And they had, I think Elon later tweeted, they had about 20 of them running around the studio set, and they had another 30 or 40 Tesla Model 3s and Ys that were also in FSD mode, full self-driving mode. And so he basically talked about this vehicle. It's going to be a 2-door with, those typical Lamborghini scissor doors, huge trunk, but it's only I think it's only a 2-seater and 2 doors, no steering wheel, no brakes, no nothing, no rear window. So it truly is a vehicle that is meant only for autonomous driving.
Yeah.
It looked very cool. It was as you had mentioned, it looked like a Cybertruck in the Model 3 had a baby, and it had a slight goldish sheen to it, whereas the Cybertruck is that silver aluminum look. This had a slight gold look to it, but it looked very cool. I saw a lot of the videos where people were getting into the taxi, and it looked really nice. A lot of trunk space, so it makes sense. And a lot of people after the event were saying if they could sell this car to me as an average consumer with a steering wheel and brake pedals and all that stuff, I'd love to buy it. But I think they did a good job. I think there was a lot of kind of like hey, this is on a studio set, so obviously everything was completely mapped out. People were not jumping in front of the car, which is typically what would happen in a major city. But I think bottom line is he's just pushing the envelope, and everything, of course, I feel the irony, it's on the set of a Hollywood production studio set, so everything is usually make believe. And then, like you said, though, literally 5 days later, they had the SpaceX landing where the rocket was caught by these massive, scissor hands or whatever. So that was kind of interesting. But I thought the robotaxi was very cool. I don't know what your take was on it.
So I feel like, as you said, I love the paint job on it, and the golden satin kind of finish on it is really cool. I love the custom rims that they have as well, on the tires. Of course, as you said, like it's 2-seater, so they remove the back seat and they push the middle seat, like the front seats to the middle, so you have enormous leg space to it. No steering wheels. I feel the only caveat to this, or a bit sort of issue that people are having is, if there is an emergency on the road, there is no manual override to it. There's no emergency stop button. Everything on the vehicle is through as classic Tesla style, is on the screen. So, it might get a bit uncomfortable. Of course, this is a prototype, and when it eventually gets launched, there will be a couple of changes. Tesla engineers did say that we're gonna add a couple of things to it, but in the current sort of phase, it's kind of stuck that you don't have an emergency button. the Waymo has been doing this for quite a while. I mean, famously with the Jaguar I-Pace, and you see, Waymo has enormous cameras. The lidar sensors, the cameras, everything over there. On that particular vehicle, so it actually looks like a full self-driving car. I really don't know how Tesla managed to take all of that particular tech and make it look, integrate into the body of that particular vehicle. You don't see a single sensor on that particular vehicle. So I think that is like really spectacular that they have done. But yeah, the manual override is something that should have been there, maybe in the production vehicle. Also, what they are sort of saying right now is they want to build this particular vehicle to cost. I mean, the ideal cost that they're looking at is about $30,000. So typically, this is not the higher spec vehicle that you would have like as Model S Plaid or even the highest spec of Model 3. It's even lesser than that. So it has a smaller battery. Estimated range is about 200 to 300 miles. And another interesting thing is there's no charging port on this.
Yeah, there
is no charging port. So Tesla wants to build this as a completely without human intervention kind of a vehicle. So it has induction charging, also known as wireless charging. So typically wireless charging is not that fast compared to, let's say, a normal NACS charger. So I really wonder how that ecosystem is going to go. The other wireless charging examples that we have in Norway or Sweden, it's a very infrastructure heavy kind of a charging, sort of a form, and also very less efficient. There's a lot of loss of energy. It's not fast. So I really wonder what Tesla is going to do in terms of pulling this particular thing off. When on the other side, they have pioneered charging with the NACS charging standards.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting aspect of it.
So I think that, just, jump in, two things, you both mentioned, it's really around technology with which they're pushing. So the debate of Waymo versus Tesla, it comes down to everybody feels like you need LiDAR sensors, you need all these sensors. And it's very clear that Elon Musk is saying, I don't need sensors, I just need vision. So I've got a bunch of cameras, all over the place. So there are cameras everywhere on the vehicle, but you don't see them, but they're hidden. And so he's using cameras, he's not using LiDAR sensors. And that's the reason why when you look at the Waymo or you look at some of the vehicles from China, they've got that little thing on top of the roof. Yeah. And that's because it's housing a LiDAR sensor. So he's making a concerted gamble saying, you know what, I think the vision will get better and better and better. And so that's like the whole self-learning, the AI. And he says the vision will be better than using sensors. And that's one. Second is the inductive charging. I think that is almost like a very Steve Jobs thing, saying let's remove the headphone jack from all the phones and let's go to wireless. I think that's the same thing with him. He's like, you know what, let's remove the charging port and let's push the industry to figure out better solutions around wireless charging, or like, as we say, technically known as inductive charging. So I think that's kind of what he's taking as a bet, saying, you know what, let's push the industry forward, because the truth is it'd be great if the infrastructure, all the roads had that, or maybe if your house had it, you just pull it up and then it's just charging on a mat. So let's see.
Yeah, another parallel to this is that when I was in Sweden in Gothenburg, they use wireless charging for taxis. So when a taxi is sitting outside your hotel waiting for you to actually come, so on the taxi parking slots, they have those wireless charging. So in these particular cases, it does work because the taxi is typically standing there for, let's say, 2-3 hours. So might as well charge right over there. So in this particular form factor, it does kind of work. I do see what they are trying to do. But yeah, I think, as you said, we'll see how this particular technology eventually evolves to that. But on the same event, there was also the RoboVan. I swear it does honestly look straight out of iRobot. And the movie was almost 10-15 years ago, I think. But it looks so similar. So yeah, I think from one... there are two companies that we talk a lot about on this on the podcast. One is Tesla, and of course, infamously, other is Ola. So let's, I think, touch a bit about what happened in the last month with Ola.
So I guess this was over the weekend, a couple weekends ago. I wake up and there's a lot of chatter around Bhavesh, and I think the comedian is Kunal Kamra. Yeah, Kunal Kamra. So apparently he kind of said, hey, he tweeted a picture of a service center saying, oh my God, there's bikes everywhere in the service center. And then Bhavesh said, hey, great, why don't you come on board and help me fix this? And that just blew up. Yeah. Literally blew up all over Twitter, and it actually tanked the stock on Monday. And I think it opened 9 9% lower. So that decimated quite a bit of shareholder value. But the bottom line is, I think a lot of people are saying, Ola has not fixed their servicing of the vehicles, and they're talking about doing a lot of other things. They're talking about doing AI. They're talking about doing their own data centers. They're talking about a lot of different other products, but yet the core is not there. They've got Ola Maps, which is supposed to compete against Google Maps. Everyone's saying that's great, but first fix the core, which is your vehicles, and people keep on saying that there's a lot of servicing issues. You get on Twitter and it's just nothing but a sea of complaints.
Exactly. You open any post of Bhavish or Ola and you go through the comments, the amount of complaints that people are having it's scary. It's very scary, and it's not just on Twitter. Even if you go on LinkedIn, people are tagging both Ola and Bhavish in terms of all the problems that are there in the vehicle. And when they launched a few years ago, it always has been there. Like the complaints have been there right from the start. But Ola kept on, launching new products and new, iterations to the product line and technology and all of that, which is good. I mean, you always will have issues to your products because you're moving so fast in the market. There's always few things that get left behind. But this has accumulated so much now that it literally burst. Like in the last 1 month, we see this particular service issue being the headliner for Ola. And on one side, they are talking about launching newer bikes, new products. I think I also saw a cameo version of an electric three-wheeler that Ola Electric wants to now launch. So they're doing all of these particular things on one side, but when you're moving so fast, the problem that you're having with service is just getting accumulated. And when, as you said, when Kunal Kamra pointed it out, it just affected the stock of Ola so much. And so they did address the issue that we do have a problem and we are working quite a lot on solving it. But this honestly resulted in a lot of trust amongst Indian consumers. Honestly, I think a month ago Ola had about 50% market share in electric two-wheelers. That has plummeted down to now 27%. So, and I at least anticipate that it's going to go down even further unless Ola does something really big to solve this particular issue.
No, but there's also a lot more competition, like you said, from the established players. Someone like a Hero is coming in, Bajaj. All these guys have got that name brand recognition, and slowly people are saying, "Hey, let's go with them." The other thing you can see is the stock price. It was IPO'd at 76 rupees a share. It hit a high of 146, and today we're recording this on Friday. It's at 86 rupees a share. So we're only 10 rupees away from its IPO price. So all of that has a financial toll, and at some point, I think someone's going to say, "Listen, let's get to your core, which is your bikes, your EVs. Figure out the battery systems, figure out all of that. Then you can get to these other things." And I think that's the biggest thing, is when you're trying to juggle 15, 20 balls in the air, I think they're just falling all over the place. And because of that's the reason why, their market share is just dropping, because no one wants to spend, 1 lakh, 50,000, 60,000 rupees in a product that doesn't work.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, but they it's a good problem also, let's say, to have, because they have so many vehicles on the road. We were talking about this before recording that if the amount of distribution that Ola has had is quite amazing. They're not restricted to a certain geography. It's actually spread out throughout India, and one would sort of agree that you would have service issues because you grow so fast. I mean, they push the product in terms of discounts and just their distribution through Ola Cab so much that it genuinely spread throughout the country, rather than having a typical startup approach of launching first, like famously in Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Mumbai, and then taking it slowly to all metros and then tier 2, tier 3. But Ola did everything together. They do not have an investment from an established OEM. So again, nobody was there to hold their hand in terms of service. Let's say in terms of what ultraviolet is, or what an Ather is, or a few of the other companies. Everybody has a major legacy OEM on board to help them in terms of production, in terms of service.
Teething issues.
Yeah. And Ola doesn't have it. So and honestly, it was impressive that they reached that particular scale without any legacy OEM. But now you see why companies like Ather or like ultraviolet, how they are sort of working around all of these things, because they have a legacy player on their cap table.
True.
Yeah. So, talking about Ather, I think Ather is positioning themselves now for an well-timed IPO. I think it was long time coming, and one of the oldest players, I think in the industry, definitely took their time in terms of coming out and with the product to the market. I think last I saw they have about 15%, 15 to 20% market share. And what are the numbers that they are looking for the IPO?
So they're looking at an enterprise value around $2.5 billion, which is about 21,000 crore. Compare that to Ola, which is around $4 billion. And so they're looking at an offer of around 4,500 crore in shares. That's kind of what the offer is. The truth is the markets are probably very frothy, and that's the reason why everybody's coming to the market right now, because the truth is I think we're sitting at at one point we were sitting at 85,000 on the Sensex. That's come down a little bit, but everybody wants to come in. There's a very tight window, I feel. And I think that window might end in the next 3 to 6 months. So if you don't get in the market in the next 3 to 6 months, because once the markets start tanking, then nobody wants to come to market because there's a very negative sentiment. Right now, people are riding high. So Ola, although the price may not show it, but at least there's some tendency to be optimistic about the industry. Again, Ather, I think, is now saying, hey, let's get in there because they've got very good, as far as, brand recognition, numbers they can scale up. So I think that's kind of why everybody's come to the market. That's why even Ather is as well. And I definitely think it's well timed. And I definitely think it's a long-term bet as well, because I think this space of two-wheelers, scooters, motorcycles, all that will only continue to grow in India.
Exactly. And I think the money that they are raising from the IPO, that is going to go towards their new factory that they are setting up in Aurangabad. I think majority, 50% of the raised funds are going to go towards the factory, 20%, 10 to 20% going towards marketing, and the rest of it is going to go towards R&D. So, it's good that they are a very R&D focused company. The word of mouth that Ather has is actually quite good, and the quality, product, service. They've aced in all of these particular aspects. Still a long way to go, of course, not the best in the market, clearly from the market share, but still a long way to go. But I think it's very exciting. A company that we saw all the way from 2013, honestly, one of the first original companies of electric two-wheelers in India, coming about finally doing an IPO. So it'll be an exciting journey to see.
No, that's good. And you had mentioned, we were talking that the largest shareholder actually is Hero MotoCorp.
Yes.
At around 38%.
37%.
So that goes back to, where they've got some industrial, older, industry legends kind of on the cap table, kind of helping them with these issues, so that's really good.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be a fun journey, I think, to see, and really hoping they have a good IPO.
Yeah, let's hope.
So let's talk about, I think, next, the Windsor. So MG, I think it's the first product that they launched after JSW bought 37%, I think, of MG, and
51 actually.
No,
so the Indian entity is about 51%. So I think you said MG, the JSW, I think is about 38%.
Yeah.
There are some other investors that make up the rest. So now officially the Indian entities collectively own 51% of JSW MG Private Limited is the name now.
Yeah. So Windsor is the first product to come out of it. So let's talk about the car first, and then we'll talk about the battery as service aspect of it.
So the car, I think, is a rebadge, what they call Wuling Cloud is what it's known internationally. So Wuling is a sister company of SAIC, and so is MG. So MG is all part of SAIC, big Chinese conglomerate, and they've got a lot of EV technology. So this one is a rebadged version, and they're calling it the MG Windsor here in India. And they've got 3 variants. I think it starts at 12.5, 13.5, and 14.5. Wax.
If you include the battery.
So we'll get to that a little bit later. So it's supposed to be what they call a CUV, crossover utility vehicle. So it's somewhat like an SUV, but not really. From what I've been told, I've got a friend of mine that actually sat in it. He said it's actually pretty comfortable in the back seat. Very, very nice. It's got, I think, a 38 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is a little surprising. I thought they would go with like a 50, but I think they're really trying to bring the price down. But the big thing is their battery as a service, BaaS, and that's really the key headline of the event that they talked about.
Yeah. So, the The car is really good. It's going to be very interesting to see actually on the roads and once it's finally rolled out and stuff. But yeah, as you said, battery as a service was the main highlight of of the event. Before we get into specifics, it's so interesting that like companies are still trying to actually try and make this particular business model happen of battery as a service. Ather in 2019 or 2018 tried to do something similar when the battery prices globally shot up, and the landed cost of their vehicle was coming about more than 2 lakhs, and for them to profitably sell it, they were like, we cannot sell at 1.3 1.2 lakhs. We have to really price up the vehicle. And so they the model that they tried to do it was that you buy the vehicle at 80,000, 80,000, and then you pay us monthly for the battery. And they received, at that particular point of time, they received major backlash from the community that, because it's such a sentimental value of having a vehicle in India that we want to own the entire an aspect of it. We just don't want to own the chassis, the accelerator, the seat. We want to own everything that is there in the particular vehicle. So they scrapped that particular model and then went again to the basics of selling the entire vehicle together. And now, 5 years later, MG is trying to do something similar in the car segment. If you look at from a broader perspective, the Indian EV car market is still very much in its infancy. We still have like a 3 or 4% penetration. So MG trying this out is very interesting to see if actually it will work out over a longer term. The entire idea is you buy the vehicle, the starting price is coming out to 9.99 lakhs. So buy a vehicle about 10 lakhs. And then for every kilometer, there are many NBFCs who are trying to do this, but every kilometer, ideally you're paying from 3.5 rupees from the cheapest NBFC to 5.8 rupees, which is like on the expensive side of it, which is very interesting. So the plans are, if monthly, if you want 1500 kilometers, like you can buy whatever kilometers you want, and packages are about, I think starts with 1500 kilometers, you pay minimum as 3.5 rupees, which is very interesting. And if you want to buy the entire vehicle, then you have to pay 3.5 lakh rupees extra over on top of it. So as you said, the cheapest model starts at 13.5 lakh rupees. So it's very interesting. I particularly feel that the major use case would be for fleets like Blue Smarts of the world, the Cabby, Snappy, GREL of the world, because they have a fixed sort of an area that they do. Let's say typically they have an idea that I will do about 200 kilometers or 250 kilometers per day. So I know this is going to be my maximum kilometers that I'll do in a month. I know my minimum kilometers that I'll do in a month because they're tracking so much from an operational efficiency standpoint. So it makes sense for them. But for normal consumers, bit difficult. At least is what I feel. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. In fact, the whole idea of battery as a service, I think, was more of just to kind of talk about a new pricing model in India, and they wanted to separate the chassis from the battery pack, and that's kind of the idea, and really move from a CapEx model to an OpEx model. But that really only is really useful for fleet operators, because they're really trying to get down, hey, if the car is being used, then we should pay for it. That's the idea. So I think it's interesting, but I am still waiting to see the data, if it's actually something really beneficial for the industry, or it's just more of a marketing activity by MG, because now they've brought that same battery as a service to even their MG Comet and their ZS EV as well. So the entire product line from MG will be regular, buy it outright, or you have battery as a service. But the thing is, I want to really see, who will really benefit from it. I'm still trying to understand the real use case, and talk to a fleet operator or fleet owner saying, does this really make sense, or is it more marketing hype or gimmick?
So yeah, that was about it for what's happening season 2, episode 3. It was an interesting month, and I think the entire automotive industry is of course gearing up towards the festive season. That's why a lot of these kind of news are coming about. The governments are giving subsidies, companies are launching new products. So I think they are really gearing this up for the consumers to make those decisions. So yeah, fun month. Looking forward to the next month now.
Sounds good. Next episode.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.